All right. So again, hello, everybody. Good morning, good afternoon to wherever you're joining us today. Thank you for being here for the very first session of She Means Business in honor of Women's History Month. I just want to inform everybody, if you're just joining, that this is going to be a recorded session of our panel speakers. So feel free, if you want to be off camera, there will be time later for you to speak with the panelists directly. Over the next 40 minutes, we're going to hear from these two remarkable female trailblazers as they recount their personal stories in finding success in the entrepreneurial world. My name is Cheyenne Ornelas. I'm a volunteer program associate here at the Network for Teaching Entrepreneurship, and I am thrilled to be your moderator today. So before we dive into the discussion, I would like to take a moment to introduce the phenomenal women that are here with me today. So joining us from California is Gardenia Rosales, a vibrant founder of Cipota Coffee, a vibrant brand that sources high-quality coffee from El Salvador and is roasted locally in Los Angeles. With a deep passion for coffee and Salvadorian culture inherited from her parents, Gardenia aims not only to offer exceptional coffee, but also highlight the stories of Salvadorian and Salvadorian American people. Through Cipota Coffee, she celebrates the rich cultural heritage and traditions of her community while sharing the flavors of El Salvador with the world. So welcome, Gardenia, and thank you for being here.
Yeah, thanks for having me. And sorry, I left for a second. I lost you guys, but I'm back. So.
No worries. So you can always just jump back in and we'll adapt. Us here at Nifty, we're totally used to that. So also with us today from Dallas, Texas is Meshell Baker, a dynamic and captivating speaker. Oh, May, can you mute people? Thanks. So again, Meshell is a dynamic and captivating speaker known for her authenticity and confidence. Through her company, Meshell Baker Enterprises, she empowers women-owned businesses, entrepreneurs, and sales leaders to cultivate resilience and confidence throughout their work. Meshell is recognized as a catalyst for personal and professional growth, helping leaders liberate themselves from fear and fulfilling their true potential. Now that we've met our panelists, let's kick off the discussion with a question that reflects on personal accomplishments. Meshell, I'd like to start with you. If you can share a significant milestone or achievement in your journey that you're particularly proud of.
Yes, great question. Hello, everyone. One of my favorite, I just told this story yesterday. I've had so many of them. It's, it becomes challenging to choose. I'm not a spring chicken. But one of my favorite ones is when I became an international speaker, and that opportunity for me meant that I was speaking on international soil, which meant I was going to another country and a passport was required to go through, all of that. I remember that my travel was on a Monday morning, and as I was packing and getting ready to get organized Thursday before the travel, I all of a sudden remembered my passport had expired. So I don't know if you guys know, it's not an easy feat to renew and update a passport. So I remember having a sheer moment of panic. This was in 2016. And I could feel it felt like my soul left my body for a moment. And then I remembered the client had hired me. I had been visualizing and I had seen myself giving this talk. That's the work I do about confidence, right? Confidence happens in the moment, and you must prepare to be confident. It doesn't happen in the moment if you haven't prepared. What happens in that moment is fear. You will have sheer fear, and that's it, right? And if you prepare, you visualize, you meditate, you have a target, you talk about it, you coach with it, you're accountable to it. When the moment comes, you will remember what your target is, and nothing else will matter. And in that moment, I remembered the target, and I went about going down to the passport office. I had talked the woman off the ledge after she started laughing at me like, there's no way you're getting a passport in 3 days. And once she stopped laughing, I said, I just need you to think of one person who's the first person. I told her why I needed the passport. Why my life, the fact that I was formerly incarcerated. Now I've left corporate America, I'm living my dreams. So she's just looking at me, and all of a sudden said, who's that one person that comes to mind? And we called him, he laughed, and then I asked him, same story. So that was the path. And it was that first real experience of knowing that I knew that nothing was going to stop, just feeling my whole body change and shift into the sense that nothing was impossible. And that's been one of my favorite experiences. And as I share it with clients and when I'm working with teams or organizations and individuals, that's the goal, to get them to that space to remember, if you've been given a vision, if you have a dream, it's not impossible. It may not go the way you thought it would, and most times it doesn't. It's just about keep moving forward, keep asking the question, and being relentless. My confidence weighed everybody on that path to help me get to that event. And I didn't get there Monday morning. I got there Monday evening, and I got there and I served all my clients well.
Thank you, Meshell. I always love hearing your stories time after time. Just always a new part of it that speaks to us today. So I'm so excited to just jump into the rest of the questions and the conversation. But first, Gardenia, I'd love to hear what personal achievement it is for you that really brings you joy.
Yeah, so I'm going to take my whole career into account. I worked in property management, commercial real estate right after college, and I loved it, and I loved the work. I was good at it, but I didn't see growth. So I feel like my biggest milestone has actually been starting Cipota Coffee, because it's become something that I'm proud of, that I feel represents me, and represents a community that's so close to me. And along with that, like having young women, Salvadorian, Central American women come up to me and be like, you've motivated me to start, whatever it may be. Is it like their art projects, their, music projects, their own businesses? That's kind of been like the biggest milestone for me, just starting my business.
I love that both of your answers have already, started taking us into what this next question is asking. And honestly, the whole point of putting together this session, which is what I've shared with you guys, is that I just wanted to be able to share with our students the stories of people that we don't see on magazines all the time, or we don't see at the top of corporate companies. And so taking into consideration the accomplishments that you both just shared, how would you say that they have contributed or are continuing to contribute to breaking down barriers that are creating change for the future generations of women?
I could start if you want.
Yeah.
So I grew up in a culture where women are seen as supporters. Although I will say we are leaders. Like I always see my, like my grandma was the boss. My mom was a boss, but we are seen as supporters, and the men are seen as leaders. I think my company is breaking down this barrier and this idea that women are just supporters. In so many ways. One, it's the way I'm showcasing Cipota Coffee. Like Cipota, I don't know if you guys know, but Cipota is a word used in Central America that means girl. So the name of my company is Girl Coffee. And along with that, what I shared with having young girls feel motivated and come to me, that that I've inspired them and motivated them to start something. And it's all women and young girls from my community. And I think that's a way that I feel Cipota Coffee is breaking down these barriers. And I hope it continues to do so with like even generations to come.
Great. Thank you, Gardenia. Meshell?
Yes, I work in industries and companies, like I'll give an example. I was with UPS last week and some of the bigger companies. So there's times where I'm the only woman or the only minority in the room. So that's considered a trailblazer, right? And there's times where I, know for a fact that I am in a room with other people who are not like me, who are getting paid more, if not twice than me. And I also know that I have a message that's powerful. So focusing on giving that gift and that message, regardless of what has transpired before to get me there, and remembering that my presence is a gift. I will always be a gift regardless of what anyone says or does, right? And this is what I teach. You do not get to dictate miles. And that's one of the messages that I carry forth in all the work that I do, is empowering people of any age to remember that there is no such thing as disrespect. Disrespect is simply words. If somebody has not put their hands on you, allowing them to trigger you out of being incredible and awesome and magnificent and giving the gift that you gave, that's on you. As long as you keep moving forward and being amazing, you will always have something. You will always come back and come out of it on top. It might not happen in the time or in the path that you want. You will always come out on top.
Beautiful answers. Thank you, guys. And again, like the words that you're saying is just transpiring, I think, so much into all of what we want to discuss today. And Meshell, you have experience specifically, I think, in this area. So this next question is specifically for you, as we try to understand the significance of mentorship and sponsorship of women. So in your experience, what role does that mentorship and sponsorship play for supporting the advancement of women in male-dominated industries specifically?
Yes. Well, it's interesting. I had a meeting, and so I'm at a co-working space because I'm between events today, and one of my mentors is a male, and I've discovered that having mentors of different hues, different nationalities. I have males, I have females, and in certain industries, it's vitally important, right? Because everybody's like the quote unquote seat at the table. It's the opportunity to have someone give you information. A mentor is basically giving you knowledge and guiding you to a space that you don't know. It's there. You don't necessarily know how to get there, right? They're inviting you in and maybe helping you to learn a different way of going about getting there. A sponsor is someone who's promoting growth. So a sponsor can be paid or unpaid, but they're providing access to opportunities versus just the knowledge and the learning. But I've discovered that for, when I worked in corporate sales, mostly every mentor I had was a white male, right? And that was always giving me access to somewhere that I didn't have before. It wasn't until I became an entrepreneur that I actually started interfacing with more women and started experiencing more, because in corporate, I was often the only female or the only Black female on a team. And that was just because I, again, never bothered by other people's behavior. I came to do a job. I got hired for a job, and this job I do, you don't get to dictate whether I do excellent, right? So, and that's what I learned from mentors, and they helped me to be strong and helped me to recognize that my self-talk was everything. How I thought about myself when I entered a room dictated the outcome of the impact of what I was able to sell and how people treated me and the access that I had to opportunity. So if I walk in feeling like I'm less than, I'm only going to walk out with scarcity and lack and insecurity. When I walk in and believe that in the history of time, there's no one else like me, this is my opportunity. And it's awesome that people get to meet me, and I'm going to be a gift and a blessing, right? It sounds crazy, and it's not. What people forget, that your self-talk is helping you to move forward into what you're creating. Nobody else has the dream that you have. So no one else is going to believe and invest in you if you don't believe and invest in yourself. And that's where you get the better mentors. The more you believe in yourself, the more likely somebody's going to want to help you, because they're not going to want to promote someone who is going to have them look back. You got to remember that too.
Those are wise words. Thank you, Meshell. It made me quickly reflect on some of my own professional journey, which isn't many years so far, but in the short span, I have been so blessed to have mentors of all industries, professions, and just a really diverse group teach me that I think the most important thing I've learned is to use that voice and to be confident in it, even if my voice is shaking when I'm using it. And one of the biggest things I think that I've learned from them is who's advocating for you and being there for you when you're not around. So between the lessons that I've learned from all of those mentors and what you've just shared, I am taking notes on how to be a better ally for all of those in the years to come after me. So thank you.
And I just wanted to add this: when you have a great mentor or sponsor, what they're going to really do is help you understand that it's so whatever you're feeling is okay. Everybody feels fear. Everybody feels insecure. Everybody feels unready. Everybody like all of those feelings are actually normal in success. It's just that successful people have learned to move forward regardless of the feelings. And having mentors and sponsors helps you normalize what's in your head, so it stops being a barrier to entry.
Yeah, which flowing again right into how we navigate those feelings and those challenges and setbacks, right? It's an inevitable part of everyone's career journey. But in the context of today's session and what we're celebrating this month, I think I'd be remiss to say that we can see it's an especially a harsh reality for women. So Gardenia, I would like to ask you what advice you would give to young women who are navigating challenges and setbacks, either now in their professional journeys or how you can plan for them in the future.
Yeah, so I'm gonna kind of go off what Meshell is saying about your mindset. And I think my biggest advice as an entrepreneur, you have to dwell in solutions. I think you already have that mindset where you're starting a business to solve a problem that you see. And that could be in any industry. And as your company grows, or as you're starting a new project, the challenges and the setbacks are going to be different every time. And you just have to kind of dwell in those solutions and always try to find the solution that's best for that time. And, you know, sometimes you maybe have that fear. I know I've experienced that fear and like that, like, lack of confidence at a point where it's like, is what I'm doing good enough, or is this the right way to approach this? And if you have that mindset where you're solving something rather than like, well, this is the problem, I have this huge problem. If you're dwelling in that solution, that's going to help you achieve what you want to achieve.
Yeah, that's wonderful. I think one of the biggest things I've heard this year, it's all about changing the narrative, right? So whatever that applies to, you're taking it and you're making it work for you in a way that's going to propel you forward. So thank you, both, Meshell, your answer before, and Gardenia now. Before we open up the floor for a Q&A portion, I do want to pose one final question for both of our panelists. So success is often measured in metrics such as revenue and profit in the entrepreneurial world, but I want you both to look beyond these metrics. And how do each of you define success for your individual companies or yourselves? And what impact do you continue to hope to make through your entrepreneurial endeavors? Maybe one that we've kind of touched on already in the discussion today, or something that you haven't mentioned yet. We can start with Gardenia. You're on
Yeah. I feel like I've already mentioned, like, I think one of my biggest goals with Cipota Coffee was not just to run a coffee business, but to kind of show representation in a different way for Central American and Salvadorian women. And I think already seeing how it's motivating young women, I think that's a way I've measured success. Additionally, it's the way people perceive Salvadorian food and beverage. I think growing up and sharing my culture, my food culture, I was a lot of the time approached with like, oh, that's not good food, or that's unhealthy, or it's not quality product. And with my success, I think I want to measure, my way to measure success with company is like seeing how people are changing that perspective or that view on Salvadorian coffee, because it is unique. It's wonderful. It's as great as all these other coffees. And I think every coffee, you know, no matter where it comes from in the world, has its own uniqueness. Obviously, it's grown in different terrain. And El Salvador, just like many of these other places, have these volcanic soils, these high altitudes where, you know, it's a great environment for for growing coffee. And when people start to love and see what we love, I think that's going to measure, that measures success for me.
I will jump in to say I'm not a coffee connoisseur, but if I have ever in Lincoln Heights, I'm definitely stopping by Cipota Coffee. But I've noticed too that just the culture and the environment of the coffee shops I choose to go to, it just makes the coffee taste better as well. And so you're getting so much more, right, than just your cup of coffee. So thank you, Gardenia. Meshell?
Yeah, well, I thank you for that. It's such a powerful reminder that, you know, as women, we can do incredible, amazing things and change the way people interpret how women do business, right? You know, there's so much data out there to show that when women are in leadership as CEOs or, you know, companies, there are a lot of them in the C-suite levels, that those companies outperform, right? On their investments and their earnings, they do exceedingly well. So getting more women into these leadership roles, into our entrepreneurial roles, as well as getting them VC capital, right? We know that the data is just not great for women getting VC capital and access to the funding to grow businesses, yet they still do, right? That's the amazing thing about women. They are very solutions and results oriented because they find a way regardless of what's not accessible. So for me, the confidence component and just not being a leader in confidence for women, but also for the allies. So that's one of the things that I enjoy when my presentations are done in, you know, a varied audience, not just women, because then there's allies. There are the men in those roles who bring me in and support what I'm doing and want to help to see and have, you know, more hiring, retaining, and promotion of women in the workplace. And then that, you know, again, they are doing business. So when there's women in that, they will do business with other women in business. So, right, it just fuels the whole economic growth of having women in business. When they're in leadership, when they're in business, whatever it is, they look for it. And allyship, yeah, someone put in the comments, allyship is important. And my goal is to just continue to expand and help as many people as possible be self-confident. You know, my goal is, you know, 1 million in my lifetime, but to help people be self-confident. When people are self-confident, they are more compassionate, they're more thoughtful, they're more kind, they're more creative, they're more innovative. There's so many things that happen when people are internally motivated for success versus externally motivated for success.
Thank you, Meshell. That was wonderful. Both of your answers are just taking me back to different points. But when we had our call before all of this, and Meshell was just dropping insight after insight for me and Gardenia, and I think that reminder of the community that very apparent that you're building for those who are familiar with your work. And so I appreciate that and the opportunity to benefit from it. So this concludes the moderated part of our session. So I would like to open the floor for questions from our audience. And then I just also want to express my gratitude to Gardenia and Meshell for your insights, your wisdom, and your vulnerability today during our session. But with that, audience members, if you guys have any questions, feel free. You can raise your hand or share it in the chat, and then our panelists would be happy to address them.
Sienna, I see you have a question. Go for it.
Thanks, Renee. Thank you, Meshell and Gardenia. I feel like this has been really such an inspirational conversation going on here. I love the woman power that we're having right now. It's really great to see. My question is, I guess, what do you guys like? How do you handle when you maybe run across another woman who isn't very supportive in this womanhood journey that we're on, and like trying to support each other?
Good question. I've always been a person where if it doesn't feel good, I stay away from it. But I know, and sometimes it's you're not able to do that. I think my approach is always keep supporting them, even though they're not supporting you. I feel like it's not always although people see it as a competition, like most every situation as a competition, it doesn't always have to be. We can always support each other. And I think putting out into the world or leading by example, where you're still going to support someone and showing them that that's not a way of approaching, you know, a situation where you see another woman as competition or as not like, do you understand what I'm saying? Yeah.
Yes. I love what Gardenia said, you know, that keep supporting them. I look at it as every person that we meet is either a blessing or a lesson. So we're either going to get some benefit from them, you know, you get the warm, fuzzy goosies. Oh my God, you're amazing. I love you. You're awesome. Or you're going to learn something more about your capability of how you can hold your stance in what you believe, who you believe you are. So you're being tested all the time. Do you believe you're confident? Do you believe you're resilient? Do you believe you're a leader? And that person is going to, is just there to allow you to continue to refine and define your character. I always tell people character isn't grown in the good times. Character is grown when you're challenged by external circumstances, situations, and people. That person is an opportunity to grow your character. Still treat them amazing. If you believe you are an incredible gift, still be the gift regardless of how they behave. That's the opportunity. You get to grow character. That's all it is.
Thank you, guys. Chris, you want to ask your question?
Yeah. Thank you for speaking to us today. Definitely always support women entrepreneurs. Definitely need more of that presence in our society. Something that I'm wondering is women are socially trained to not take up space, you know, like they're not supposed to speak up. Like that's just something that many people who identify as women have to like unlearn. So something that I'm wondering about, especially when it comes to entrepreneurship, is what are some strategies that female entrepreneurs, particularly our young folks, how can they network? Like, what are ways in which they can network with other women entrepreneurs to reach out to other possible mentors? Because I know networking is it's a very difficult skill that needs to be developed. That's not necessarily something that comes naturally to people who have been socialized to, you know, keep to themselves, not take up space. So I'm just wondering ways in which you are able to network and find success in that. Thank you.
Yeah. I've when I started on my journey with my company, I joined a lot of women's groups. So there's a huge group called We All Grow Latina, and they have events where you just get to meet all these other great entrepreneurs. My first event was called Las Founders, which is the founders, and it's all women who are running their businesses, just starting their businesses, or have an idea. And I think that's a good way of connecting with other women who are doing things, finding people that can help you, that can mentor you, and also growing with a group that has the same perspectives as you. So I think finding those groups is a good way of going about that, and taking up space, not just with by yourself, but with the support of these people who have like the similar things in common.
Yeah, I agree. There's a saying and it says your network will dictate your net worth, right? So because your network gives you access to opportunities and things like that. And I find that networking for me is the opportunity. So what they teach you is the elevator speech, and you're going there to get something. What I teach people is that you go there to give, right? And when you focus on how you can be valuable to people you're speaking to, learn to listen, ask questions. So it's, what do you do? That is the question that is, it's just, I'm like, I don't even believe people still ask that question, right? You know, ask questions that enlighten people, enliven people, encourage people, and ask a follow-up question. It becomes powerful. You know, the rule of thumb is listen twice as much as you speak. And that will give you a lot of access to more valuable. You'll start, the people who are high worth and value, they will quickly, they comprehend that quickly, and they will put you and give you access to other things. But know why you're going to the networking event, and know what your outcome is. It's just to randomly and not know about your business or why you're there, you're lost. And that's not attractive to many people. That's what makes it uncomfortable and difficult when you don't have clarity around why you want to go. So if you can reach out to somebody and even practice, right? You know, if you have a good friend, like, this is what I plan to say when I go there. How does that sound? You know, that's the interesting thing about networking is people go introduce themselves and they've never said it out loud. Like, they've never introduced themselves or spoken their introduction out loud. The chances of you feeling comfortable when you say it to that first person are zero. Repetition is the mother of success. So repeat it in the mirror, say it over and over while you're driving. Feel it in your, feel the comfort of introducing and communicating in your body before you ever say it to another person is how you'll find more success. The body knows.
That's great.
Meshell, that briefly took me back to having to prepare for speeches in high school. And, you know, when it's a topic you don't want anything to do with, you're like, oh, I don't know what I'm going to say. I don't know how I'm going to do this. But also to Chris and Gardenia, your answer to his question, that's actually one of the groups that she mentioned is how I found Gardenia. So it's very, I think, helpful to first find those groups with people who identify as you, either professionally or, you know, both of us being of Spanish or heritage. And so definitely raising that up. They're becoming, I think, more common and growing across the US. So just in the support of women that's in the group themselves, it's amazing. But then all of those connections that they have and they bring in and they introduce you to, it has definitely been a game changer.
And one of the places I'll share that I find groups there, I go to places like Eventbrite and LinkedIn. I do searches, so I found groups all over the place. What is it? Just meetup.com or I haven't been there in a while, but looking for groups of women is where I found different groups. I just joined an organization, Black Achievers Network, and it's for mostly people who went to historically Black colleges and universities. So I realized I was out of touch. I'm a Howard graduate. I haven't been around Howard graduates in a while. But again, as Cheyenne said, I was intentional about being around people who are similar to me. And that's, so that's a great start, because then there's that, you have a level of comfort and ease in going in there, even though you don't know people.
Yeah. And for me, I find these groups in social media, through networking events, or through meeting someone, and if you maybe even just a Google search, I think I've done like food industry, you know, meetups, and then you're able to meet people that way, or groups that are like, if you're into, you know, like I'll just use my example. I'm into coffee, so I'll find pages that are, you know, Latinas in coffee, or women in coffee, or women in food industry. And those are like what I search, and that's how I'll find these events.
Yeah, Google can be a tad bit daunting when trying to find these types of groups, but when you know what you're looking for, it does get easier. And I will definitely share out, you know, the resources and information from our speakers today with everybody that's here and is registered. So that way, if you guys missed it, you can definitely look at it later. We do have time if anybody wants to ask one last question. If not, I will move on to another part.
I have a question. Just out of curiosity, when we think about women in business or women in entrepreneurship, like what's one word that you both would say really describes that and encapsulates it in just like one phrase?
I want to say community. I've found that a lot of the women entrepreneurs I've connected with are more than just a business. They're trying to build communities. And I think that's a word that really resonates to women entrepreneurs for me.
The phrase that comes to mind is something I've said for years: consistent persistence wears down resistance. And that's what I find women are. They are consistently persistent, and they'll wear down. Like when they have a vision for something, they will keep going until they discover it. And they're just resourceful and resilient and relentless in their pursuit. And that's one of the reasons that, like I said, being around women, it's absolutely incredible because they find a way. They find a way. And if they can't find one, they make one.
Mhm. Okay, true. Wonderful question, Vinay. Thank you. So I will say thank you again, Meshell and Gardenia, for just being with us here today. And audience members, thank you for your engagement. I just want to remind everyone to continue carrying the spirit of today's discussion forward as we continue to celebrate and uplift women's voices, not just this month, but every day. And remember that each of our own journeys matter, and that our voice is essential in shaping inclusive futures. And again, thank you for being here on a Wednesday afternoon. I hope you all have a wonderful week. And I will be sending out a follow-up email. So if you have any questions or want to get in contact either with Meshell or Gardenia, please let me know. So thank you.
Thanks for having us.